what's the difference between a human being and all the other animals out there?
Do you want to put the order of nature within the realm of philosophy?
Free will.
It's certainly, philosophy touches on it, there's no doubt about
We're
it.
supposed to
But
have
are you
reason.
you're not going to put it in there and be happy?
See, the order of nature is the material order that we see that God made. Our job as human beings is to see what that order of nature is. Supposing I said to you, and you know what, you and I are just phenomena that came along evolutionarily, right? And by chance and randomly. So you and I are not made in the image and likeness of God. We're not extraordinary. We're not exceptional. All the animals out there are just as exceptional as we are, right? The trees have rights, and the muskrats have rights, and all the living creatures have rights, like we do. Okay. If I said that, there are people who look at the order of nature and actually see that. We, because of our heritage and our tradition, see deeper than that into the order of nature.
Can't you use love as an example? Because, you know, we have different levels of love, and what we know is love. And that's not something that you can classify biologically, but we all have it within us because of God who created us. But on a humanistic level, we all experience it differently because of the nature aspect of creation.
That might be that's actually a very good point. When we actually get down to the real essence of the order of nature, human-wise, we come right to that point, love. And it's a certain kind of love, right? And we're gonna have to get to that. We can't do that right now, but we're gonna get to that.
Your
Right?
buddy over here is
All right,
talking to you.
Dan.
So, man defines biological nature. God defines the order of
Yes,
nature.
absolutely.
So the biological nature is a subset of the order of nature.
What did you say?
The biological nature is a subset of the order of nature.
No, not necessarily. Here, you know, this is to that as that is to that. You know that. You know the dots. Man is the biological order, as God is to the order of nature. Biological order. All of those biological classes we don't have to have, and we still have the order of nature. We have dreamed up the biological order, all right? But a lot of that, yes, Dan, a lot of that, when we study the biological order, we actually are looking at nature and trying to figure out what nature is trying to tell us. That's true, and that's good, that's good. When we get to the point where Francis Bacon got, way back, what, the 18th century? Is it the 18th century or the 17th century? Well, anyway, Francis Bacon was a philosopher, a statesman, you name it. He was very, very good at everything. He was a Renaissance man. He looked at nature, as you can read in the introduction here. He says, we need to get back to what we were doing prior to the fall. And prior to the fall, we controlled everything we saw. So now we have to do that. We have to get back so that we can control nature. So immediately something happens there. Something happens. The minute we look out at nature as something foreign to us, as something alien, as something we need to control, then a gulf happens between us and nature. And all at once we, as subjects, as a subject, start to look at it and say, aha, I'm the one who thinks. I'm the one that gives reality to the things that I'm looking at and seeing. Empiricism, positivism, and all that sort of thing. Okay? The minute you do that, then you're sitting there, and it's called subjectivism. You're looking out at the world as subjects, and you're sitting there and saying, that's not really real out there. If I can manipulate it, I can control it, I can do whatever I want to it. All I have to do is know the formula for it. And I have to just wait to find out, what the deal is on that. Okay? but eventually I'm gonna be able to control everything. And I can do that because the criteria for reality comes from me, not from out there. The order of nature is exactly the opposite. What's real is out there, and my job is to sit there and figure out what that is. For real, yes, Father.
Why don't they use, does they not use the expression law of nature, or natural law, distinguished from the empirical law? Because
Yes.
the atheist scientists do not accept the law of nature as something which has been established as objective, made by God, in fact.
Of course. And so, but natural law is another way of saying, indeed, that very thing, is it not? John Paul II doesn't use natural law because that's a Thomistic phrase that's still in effect. It's still used, but it has a connotation to it. The minute you say natural law, you get this kind of thing that you just suggested, Father, that there is this something out there, and it's there, and we can't mess with it, and so on and so forth. John Paul II, very interestingly, says this. Whenever he is talking about an internal truth, he talks about the law of this or the law of that, or the law of something else. He always starts with the term law, and then he says the law of something. For example, supposing I said there was a law of free giving in a family, what would that mean?
Did you say free?
Free giving. What's the law of free giving?
You don't have to give back.
Give without conditions. Is that something that you learn from a book, or is that something that's already inside of you, that if you grow up halfway decently, you already know that it's there?
With your
Okay,
children.
yes. All right. How about the law of self-giving? Same thing, is it not?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit different way of saying it. But notice what he's doing. He's simply pointing at something that's real, right in there. It's always been there. It's the way we're wired, and that's the way it is. Now, that's when Father says natural law covers everything, including the inner truth of the human being. Yes, Bill.
Would you say that the difference in the two ways of looking at it, the biological and the natural, is the biological is looking more at the what, it's answering the question of what or how, and the natural way is answering the question of why? It's looking at it more from a theological standpoint.
That's a very good point, because you're bringing in four causes rather than the biological two. See, when Francis Bacon got his thing going, all right, what two of the four Greek causes were thrown out of the window? You got the four causes, for example. Let's just, if you haven't had Philosophy 101, this is nuts, okay? But basically you have, the Greeks came up with four causes, right? One of them is the formal cause. One is the material cause, then the efficient cause, and the final cause.